and welcome back. You are watching Real Talk with the Roses. You excited?
No.
Why not?
Because this ain't my gig.
He'd much rather prefer me behind the camera, but you did come on willingly.
Somewhat.
No, you came on completely willingly. Hesitantly, though.
Yes.
Yeah. He'd rather be behind the camera instead of in front of the camera, so he's stepping out of his comfort zone. But we wanted to start this series as a way to help you guys, either with your marriage or with your finances or whatever it is that you want to hear from us in the future. So many of you enjoyed seeing him in a Vlogmas that we did together. We talked about women in makeup.
Yep.
And you gave your expert opinion on that.
Honest, wouldn't say expert.
Speaking for the whole male population.
No.
Just the most average guys probably have the same opinion he did. But most of you really enjoyed that and you liked hearing from him instead of just me all the time. So this is a brand new series that we're starting here on the channel, and hopefully we'll be able to bring it to you once a week, if not at least twice a month. That's what we're shooting for.
Or longer.
Or longer? What do you mean?
Maybe once every 2 months.
Nah, we'll try to do it at least twice a month for you guys and keep the information rolling. So you guys keep the questions coming because we might very well run out of material, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I would ever run out of material because I could really talk till the day I die.
True.
And never run out of things to say. At any rate, you guys keep the questions coming. Here in episode 1, we're going to start right off with answering a few of your questions that you already sent in when we called for them. You guys had some really good ones, and several of you actually asked us about budgeting. They know that we're certified budget counselors, and you were real big on budgeting and actually started us on one, oh my goodness, probably at least 20 years ago or more now.
It's been a long time ago.
And we've stayed on it. And I actually hated it at first, but we'll talk about all of that when we talk about budgeting. It's a huge part of marriage. But today we're going to start right on in with some of the questions that you guys sent us going all the way back to the beginning. Can you remember that far back?
I'll try.
That was a long time ago. For those of you who don't know, we will be celebrating our 28th wedding anniversary this coming July. So we've been together a long time.
True.
Dated 2.5 years before we got married.
Wonderful years, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's over 30 years. November of 2015 was 30 years that we have been together as a couple. So that's a long time to try to remember back. But we're going to do our best for you guys and answer a few of these questions. So we'll start right on in with question number 1. It comes from Diana Corona. And her question to us was, how did you guys meet and where and how was your first date? So, how did we meet? I'm going to let you answer first.
We met at our high school that we both attended. I was enrolled in that high school and you were the new kid on the block. And we were both in band together and we just kind of started liking each other somewhat. You more so liking me than I liked you initially. Yeah,
I chased him until he caught me.
Yep. And that just progressed on to one night we were at a football game and I wanted to hold your hand and you said that your dad probably wouldn't like that too well unless we were dating, and I said something to the effect that, well, tell him we're dating then. So I didn't really ask, I just kind of told you.
And I was okay with that. I think the reason why you probably didn't like me right away was because when we moved here, you already had a girlfriend.
I don't remember that, but...
Yes, you remember that quite well. And she was on her way out. She was moving. And
but I don't think we were seeing each other then.
You were, because her first comment to you was, I guess you're going to start liking her now. You don't remember.
I thought we had already broken up, but she was trying to hang on, but...
Well, that could be. At either rate, if you guys had broken up, it hadn't been long.
Yeah, probably right.
Yeah, and she thought right away you were going to start liking me. But I don't really think you had an interest right away, did you?
No, because you were a bird of a different color.
What's that mean?
Literally.
Are you talking about my nickname?
No.
I don't think they know that
I
yet.
was talking about your loud clothes.
Oh yes, I did wear, this was back in 1985, we moved here, and I came from a pretty large city. I'm not from Georgia. I've lived in Florida all of my life except for 8 months. My dad was pastoring a church outside of Augusta, Georgia, in a town called Martinez. They were a lot more culturally advanced up there. Here in this little town that, because we're still in the same little town, and this little town that we came to was, how shall I say? Well, let me just put it this way. When I started school down here, I was still in the neon colors. Those of you who grew up in the 80s will remember when neon was a huge thing. And so I had the lime green shirts and the bright orange and yellows and hot pinks and real fashionable, huge earrings, bows in my hair, quite a bit of makeup. You know how it was. The leggings with the lace socks, kind of I'm trying to remember the girl's name who was real popular, Debbie Gibson, kind of along that line, that kind of dress. And when I came here, everybody at this high school wore t-shirts, blue jeans. Most of the blue jeans had holes, and it wasn't because it was the style as it is now. And tennis shoes, and yeah, I probably did look like a freak coming in here. And so you just were turned off by that?
Wasn't turned off, it was just different. Something I wasn't used to.
So you wouldn't say it was love at first sight?
No.
No. So when would you say you started having an interest?
I guess the more I got to know you in band, the more we talked to each other and just spending more time with you, getting to know the real you.
And see, I remember it a little different, as probably all couples do. Guys and girls remember it differently. I hated it here. I did. I cried for the first 2 weeks we moved here because it was so different, so backwoods. The term that everybody used around here was rednecky.
I wasn't a redneck.
No, you were not. I'm just talking about this school in general and hating it here. But in band class, I did see you, and I thought you were so cute. Had such long legs, and wore them short shorts. And yeah, I gotta be honest. When we teach our marriage seminars and we try to tell people don't get infatuated because of lust and the outward appearance, for me, that's really what it was at first. And I don't really remember talking to you though, because I was really shy. I didn't talk to a lot of people, and I hated it here so much. I had seen you and I thought you were really cute, and you were someone I did want to know, but I don't remember really talking to you. But what I do remember is that summer, our band director called practice during the summer. We would spend like 5 to 6 hours a day in our band practice, and you would come up and flirt around with me. And one of the big things you liked to do was to grab the drumsticks from one of the drummers and tap on my behind. You don't remember that?
I do.
Yeah. So I don't really remember that it was because we were hanging out or spending time together. At some point, either you became infatuated also, or decided I was someone you wanted to meet, and that was kind of your way of introducing yourself.
Well, that's what primitive men would do. Beat on the drum.
Yeah, because we were pretty primitive here. So anyway, then what I remember was later on during that summer, we started talking. You had called me just a couple of times. You got my number. And you remember the night that you put your buddy up to calling me to try to find out who I liked without coming right out and asking?
Yep.
He had his buddy call me, and I didn't know he was on the other extension. Back in the day, we had real phones that were plugged into the wall, and you could have multiple phones going at the same time. I mean, you can nowadays too with like conference calls, but it was different back then. And so you were on the other extension, and I didn't have any clue that you were. And so he started asking me all these questions like, is there anybody in school that you like, and blah, blah. He was trying to see if I would say you, and I don't even remember, did I tell him that night that I liked you? I don't even remember.
I don't remember how the conversation went.
And I honestly don't even remember how I found out you were on the other line.
I think you just finally asked, because back in the day when you did that, when multiple people were on the same line, the voices were a little muted. So I think you kind of picked up on that.
Maybe I did. I can't really remember. And I don't even remember if I told him that I did like you. I'm sure I probably did, but I don't remember that. So that's kind of how our conversation started. Then you started calling me. And during that summer, our church youth group was going on an event to SeaWorld. And I had asked you if you wanted to go, because I was trying to find a way to hang out with him a little more. At this point, I hadn't even turned 15 yet. I was still 14, very young, too young to be worried about boyfriends and girlfriends, in all honesty. But I wanted to hang out with him some, so I asked you to go. And did you go?
No.
No? What did you tell me?
I put you on a fake hold and said I had to go ask my dad. And I came back and said my dad said no, even though I had not asked him. Not because I didn't want to hang out with you, but I didn't want to hang out with all the church people.
Because
I was not a church dude.
No. He grew up in a Catholic church, and you did go when your mom was still living. Mm-hmm. But then after your mom passed away, he was 11 when that happened, and y'all kind of just got out of the habit. Yeah. Of going. Yeah. And he just didn't want anything to do with hanging out with the church, so he lied to me. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember how I even ended up finding that out later. I guess because the more that we started hanging out and going together, that was the term back then, and I realized how your dad really didn't care what you did and let you go anywhere you wanted to go. Then it dawned on me, I don't really think his dad told him no.
He didn't.
I just think he didn't want to go. So I really don't even know from there how we even started talking more. You would sit with me at some football games, but you also would hang out with some other girls. And I can remember being jealous of that because I really did have a big crush on him. And I thought he was starting to like me. And you know how it is when you're young and you like somebody and then they're hanging out with other people and it just makes you a little jealous. But he had several girls that was chasing him at the time. And you would sit with me during the game, or when we could, because he plays the trumpet and I played the saxophone. And so we couldn't sit by each other during the actual game because we were in different sections of the band. But on breaks or during halftime, you would come up there and sit with me and try to hang out. But then he would leave and he'd go hang out with these other girls down near the fence. And I thought, well, I thought he liked me, but maybe he don't. So I'm not even really sure how it progressed from there until homecoming game of 1985, 30 years ago.
November the 15th.
That's exactly right. November 15th, to be exact. And you came up there during halftime. Well, it was after we did our part of half. Actually, it's the third quarter.
Yes.
Because the band is always busy at halftime. So during third quarter, and you came up there and you wanted to hold my hand. Now, but he had another girl who had come to sit up on the other side of him. She had moved away and come back, but it wasn't the girl he was dating when I first moved here. It was somebody else. And I thought, well, this is just great. This isn't working out quite how I wanted it to. But you did ask me to hold my hand. And I knew my daddy. He was a good and protective daddy over his little girl, and he was watchful to make sure that no little boys were taking advantage of his little girl. And they were there at the ball game, and so when you wanted to hold my hand, it kind of scared me. And I thought, the only way my dad would not be upset that I'm sitting over here holding a guy's hand is if we were actually like boyfriend-girlfriend, because, you know, my dad didn't just want me holding every boy's hand in school. That would not be a nice girl. And so I says, well, the only way that I could hold your hand is if my parents knew that we were dating. And so it went from there, like you said at the beginning. So that's just kind of how it all started. There was really no love at first sight, music playing, running towards each other in slow motion. That didn't happen for us. And so it just kind of went from there. And here we are.
The music came afterwards.
Oh, the music came afterwards. And here we are over 30 years later and still together. Mm-hmm. We got married in 1988 and have been together ever since.
Yep.
We got married so young. I think this is kind of a funny part of the story because I graduated school in June and we got married in July.
Yep.
And I was very young, and I would not recommend that to people now because we really didn't have a chance to kind of grow up and find ourselves. But we did nonetheless. And so I was so young. I wasn't quite 18. I was going to turn 18 in August. So in Florida, if you're under 18, I don't know how it is other places, but if you're under 18, you have to have a parent's signature to get married here. So my dad and mom both actually had to sign permission for me to marry you. So literally for 1 month, you were my legal guardian.
That's right.
I mean, he was my husband, but the state considered you my legal guardian because I was under 18. You were 19. And so we always like to joke about who's your daddy? You were my daddy.
For a month.
For a month. My sugar daddy. And so that's just kind of how it all started. So we've really grown up together, you may as well say.
That's right.
We've been married a lot more years than we were alive before knowing each other. So about 3/4 of our life so far has been together, thereabout.
Yep.
Yeah, so anyway, that's how we met. And the next part of her question was, what was our first date? We kind of just told how we met and all that kind of stuff. But she wanted to know, what was our first date and where was it?
Well, I didn't remember at first. You had to tell me.
You weren't supposed to tell them that.
That's the truth. Well, because I didn't consider that as a date.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess our first going out was my senior prom.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 1986.
Yes, because the night we started holding hands and going together, I had just turned 15.
Yep.
By that time, I had turned 15. But my parents were very strict about no single dating until I turned 16. So even though we were an item, I was not allowed to go anywhere with you.
Nope.
As a matter of fact, and I'm going to kind of tell on this, you had started coming to church with me because you wanted an excuse by that point to be with me more.
Right.
So he started coming to church. And our church at the time was literally, what would you say, maybe 3 blocks from our house?
Yeah, it was about a half a mile.
About a half a mile?
Mm.
About a half a mile from the house. And so there were nights that we would leave on a Sunday night, and my mom would say that it would be okay for you to come over and hang out for a little while after church, have a sandwich or something. And my parents were really strict about the alone time, which I understand now because I'm extremely strict with my kids, wouldn't you say? Yes. Yeah. And so now I understand it, but back then I really didn't. And whenever we would get in the car to leave to come home, half a mile, I was not even allowed to ride with you. I had to ride with them.
Drive myself.
He had to drive himself. So we weren't allowed to go on a date until I turned 16, which was almost a whole year after we had been going out. So we really only saw each other at church or church activities, at school, and holidays. My parents would let you come over and hang out at the house, but like as far as going off alone on a date, our first time was your senior prom that happened in April. Yep. Of 1986. The theme of your prom that night was a night to remember.
And that it was.
It sure was. We had a nice time.
Yeah.
I had a pretty early curfew though.
Was
and
it 11?
So,
Was it 10 or 11? I think it was 11.
I think it might have been 11 for that since it was the prom. But a lot of your friends were wanting to go out. We live real close to the beach. We live about 40 minutes from the beach. So a lot of your friends were going over there to hang out. And of course, in the wisdom of my parents, who knew nothing good really happens with a bunch of teenagers at midnight on a beach. So I couldn't go, and you didn't get to go. Well, you were going to ride over there by yourself, but I don't even remember if you did. I don't think you did.
I went home.
I don't think you did. You went on home. And so that would be technically our first date, because we went to dinner to a real nice restaurant. You took me to...
the Brown Derby.
Yes, the Brown Derby over in Gainesville. And then we came back and went to the prom.
Yeah.
And that's where the magic happened.
That's it.
That's where it all happened. So if I can find some of those pictures, I'll put them in here, but it may be hard to get to them because everything is still kind of all tore up back there and they're stacked in a bunch of bins. But if I can insert some of those, we'll show them to you. But that's how it started. So that's how we met.
Yep.
That's how would you say we were in love at this point?
At which point?
At this point, the first date up to this point, we have been dating now from November to April.
I know I was.
You was, huh?
I don't know about you.
For me, it was love at first sight.
There you go then.
So we had been dating a little while. So that's how it actually happened. And the first date, where it was, and how we met. And I think that was all the questions that she had for us.
Yes.
And because this has turned out to be kind of a long story, we're not going to be able to answer any other questions in this video. Yay. So we'll have to hold some of those for the next time. But that was pretty fun walking down memory lane.
Yes.
No?
Not on camera, but hey.
By next time you'll be all used to it.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
See, this is the secret to a happy marriage. So if all you guys are watching, take note, right?
Happy wife, happy life.
Exactly. And we're going to leave you guys with that great piece of wisdom. We want to thank you all so very much for watching, and we hope you'll tune in next time for Real Talk with the Roses.